What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Okay, back at it again. Presented here by my friends at Zone Pouches. Love these guys. We're going to do a mailbag. At John Middlekauff is the Instagram. Fire in those DMs. Questions answered here on the show. Again, just my name on Instagram. DMs wide open. And we will start with Ben. Huge fan of the show and the Packers. When looking at the NFC North, who is the best position for success over the next 2 or 3 years? I feel like our options are limited now with so much money tied up in Parsons and Love. And I feel like we went from the best young team in the league to dog shit in the blink of an eye. You're not that bad. I would say the Lions are the only team with a quarterback who's proven, Jared Goff's been playing at a high level for a long time. They're about to play a lot of big games. You know, it's one thing to light up the Bengals, the Cowboys, or the Giants. Let's see how he plays against the Packers. He's got 2 games against the Packers defense. I don't know. We'll see, right? J.J. McCarthy is not only a major wild card. I mean, it looked like Justin Jefferson was quitting on him in his 4th start. And I would say you guys, there's just a lot of pressure right now on LaFleur. Even the people that cover the Packers are like, this guy's fighting for his job now. So Dan Campbell not only is not fighting for his job, he's the best coach the Lions have ever had. And obviously Jared Goff is just a solid quarterback. But the other thing is they're well positioned because Aiden Hutchinson is a star. Brian Branch is a high-end player, right? Laporta, Amon-Ra, Sewell, Gibbs, Montgomery, Jamison Williams. These guys are all young and under contract. So I would still lean the Lions. We're going to learn a lot about the Lions this week. I think the other night, on Monday night, I said that Philly was going back-to-back road games. Was wrong on that one. My bad. And as I say, my bads get your ass kicked. Podcast, they don't. They just mistakes and we move on. But the Philadelphia Eagles are hosting the Lions, so that's a big game for the Lions. It's actually a bigger game for the Lions than the Eagles, I think. As a defensive coordinator in today's league, is it tougher to defend the run or the pass? Love the show. Well, I think it depends on your personnel. I would say for most guys, given their personnel, if you have a good running game, it's harder to stop the run, right? 20, 30 years ago, you had a bunch of big run-stuffing guys in your front 7, linebackers included. How many guys in the league would you be like, this guy's a downhill run stuffer? I love Fred Warner. He's a Hall of Fame player. Fred Warner is a sideline to sideline, beats guys on angles. He's not meeting Lorenzo Neal or Mike Allstott in the hole and shedding him and making the tackle. It's not really how he plays. So I just think the style of player is a lot different now at linebacker, and just a lot of teams don't employ 340-pound defensive linemen because they have no pass rush. And a lot of times you just got to beat passers. And even if you're playing a rushing team, if they got a good quarterback like Lamar Jackson, having a 340-pound guy there, it's well, what's he going to do? Chase down Lamar Jackson? So it's I just think the personnel has changed a lot. I definitely think it is stopping the run, again, if you're facing a good run team. Whenever I see a lot of people going, this team's terrible against the run, it's well, yeah, they don't have the players. And what are they going to do? Draft a bunch of 260-pound linebackers? Watch college. That guy does not exist. There are a lot more. I saw the clip of I haven't watched much Ohio State this year just because they are beating the shit out of everybody. Obviously they're elite, but whoever their best player is, that pass rusher, I saw some clips. I was like, God, this guy, I think Dane Brugler, I was reading an article. I forget the kid's name, but he's a baller. Looks like Micah Parsons. There's just a lot of Micah Parsons. Look at the best defensive lineman in Abdul Carter. It was like Micah Parsons 2.0, the Ohio State guy. There are a lot of guys like that. There aren't a lot of this guy's an all-around pass rushing, defensive, run stuffing edge guy. So you get paid to rush the passer. College too, really. A good question. My question for the pod is, do you share the same optimism as me when it comes to the Chargers' chance of winning the Super Bowl in the next year? I think we have a major advantage with Jim having familiarity with the players in the draft and having a top 5 quarterback, 2 great tackles, some young studs, and some young weapons. Thanks in advance. I would buy Charger stock, right? Let's just say the Chargers were on the stock market, and let's just say they are currently $100 stock. I'd be like, I easily could see this thing going to 350 in the next 3 years, right? Here's what I do know with Jim Harbaugh, that $100 is not going to be 50, right? So now, is it going to go to 175 or is it going to go to 450? I do think it has a huge upside. So I was telling someone this the other day though. The Slater injury, like he had a devastating knee injury. There is a chance that he's never the same. But you got Joe Alt. So it wouldn't be as crippling, but you just gave him a lot of money. So that could impact financially the salary cap a little bit if he's never the same, which I'm rooting for him to get it right, but it was bad. I think it was like Ayuk, right? Ligaments, knee. I mean, it's anytime the patella, the ligaments, the ACL, it's a problem. Question for the show. Do you think LaFleur is that bad of a coach? No, I don't. I've never said that. This might be confirmation bias. I've never been high on Love, but I personally think J Lo. Oh, that's Jordan Love. I get thrown off sometimes when I see that. I start thinking about Jennifer, who still looks fantastic at 55. Isn't as good as people think. No one complained about LaFleur when he revolutionized Rodgers' career or when Love was on a heater going into the Dallas game. I don't think he forgot how to coach. Love's inconsistency and bad turnovers make him an average quarterback, and he needs a good run game to put up points. I just don't think generally it's good business to fire a coach who instantly became a top candidate available. Every other team uh, every other team looking, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think he'd be a lock to get a job if he got fired, but I do think he'd have a pretty good chance. I think someone mentioned this the other day with Atlanta. I'm with you on Love. I mean, sometimes you get in business with a quarterback who is valued because his stock's a little higher, but that's as high as he's ever going to reach. But he's not that bad. Your standard is so high. So, like, Jordan Love is held to that standard of the heater and the way he played against Dallas. Where clearly the last couple of years, like, he's solid. Like, if you do a good job, you got good personnel around him, you're going to win 10 to 12 games, right? They won 11 last year and went 1-5 in the division. What are they, 5-3-1? So that's 9 games. So if they went, I guess if they won 8, they got 8 games left, 4-4. You'd probably want to go like 5-3. You get 10 wins. Yeah, it's 10, 11 win quarterback with an awesome defense. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, you'd want a little bit more for the money. Yeah, I think you might be on. I would say LaFleur. If I could pick one, I'd probably take Jordan Love. Like I think what Jordan Love is, he's somewhere like 10 to 15, and it's on you as a team builder to build the right team. But he's better than a lot of quarterbacks. A lot of people talk about Jordan Love. Is Jordan Love the next Trevor Lawrence? He has elite traits like Lawrence, and they both have high ceiling playoff moments. However, they don't process well. Both pick up injuries and have some wild brain fade and accuracy moments. Are they actually good quarterbacks beyond the traits? I would take Jordan Love over Trevor Lawrence. I would, but I'm not a Trevor Lawrence guy at all. Most quarterbacks are going to have massive brain farts, right? And that includes the top guys, but you can live with it because the top guys are so elite. If we go with the crew like after 5 or 6, right? So you're talking the Daks, the Purdy's, the Jordan Loves, like in that world, right? I wouldn't even put Trevor Lawrence in that world. CJ Stroud. Like, you got to live with the good and the bad. And that's most people. Like, most people are not Michael Jordan or LeBron James. But, like, you can compete for a championship with the high-level all-star, right? Most people are not Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. But you can win a ton of games with, like, the dudes Seattle and the Twins have. So I just think it's easy to see all the negative and just write the guy off. But also, there was a law of averages. Like, you went from Favre to Rodgers. Favre, who is won 3 straight MVPs, won a Super Bowl, went back to another, is widely considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You upgraded. Think about that. You upgraded. It was, now Montana's better than Young, but same deal. Anytime you go back-to-back Hall of Famers at quarterback for 20 plus years, it's unheard of. The third guy, it's like the 49ers' third guy was Jeff Garcia. He was going to Pro Bowls. They were going to the playoffs. Like, that's pretty good. It's actually pretty impressive that you were able to transition to a guy that you drafted too. I just think he's kind of held to his own standard in the Dallas playoff game, what Packer fans are used to with Rodgers. And also, like, their defense is sweet. So it's like, you got a sweet defense. We need more wins. Shit, Bo Nix skips balls half the game, and they still find ways to win. Now, granted, I think they have 50 sacks through early November. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. We talk a lot of football here on 3 and Out, but there's so much more to bet on. The NBA is obviously in full swing. I was watching Michigan State and Arkansas play basketball. College hoops is back. Even the NHL is rock and rolling. So if you haven't tried your first bet yet on Hard Rock Bet, there's still time for you to get 150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but an extra 150 in bonus bets. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. So download the Hard Rock Bet app today and make your first deposit. How come velocity isn't a thing? I'd love to know how hard Caleb Williams throws the ball. That's a good question. I never hear any of my buddies in the league bring it up. I'm pretty sure it's tracked because they definitely track speed. We know how fast guys are running, which is Bill Simmons is a funny rant. Like, so what? The guy's running 22 miles an hour. What does that even mean? Like, there's no context, right? If I say, hey, Jordan Love threw 7 touchdowns in the game, we would all know, like, that's incredible, right? Or so-and-so threw 4 interceptions in a game. You're like, oh, that's like historically bad, right? 2 pick sixes. But you give me these miles an hour compared to what? Like, compared to a golf cart? Compared to, like, did Deshaun Jackson run 30 miles an hour? Did he run 20? Like, I don't know. So I'm with you on the velocity. They do it at the combine. I'm not sure. That's a great question. I could text someone in the NFL and find that out. Like, do you guys see stats on how hard guys are throwing? Caleb has a fucking cannon. Which sport has the widest and narrowest gap between college and professional levels? Football, basketball, or golf? Appreciate all you do and congrats on becoming a father. I love this question. I would say, like, there are a lot of guys on the Alabama LSU field. When I say a lot, like, there's a percentage of people, I would say 50% of the players. So if there's 22 guys, Alabama, LSU, but there's more than that because you got rotating guys in and out. Let's just say 30 guys, give or take, are consistently playing for both teams. So it's 60 players. You know, probably 30 to 35 of those guys are going to be NFL draft picks, right? Same thing with Alabama, Georgia, or, Oklahoma, Georgia, like the big time, Ohio State, Oregon. You got a ton of draftable guys. But even the guys that don't get drafted, like, they wouldn't be a good player by any means. They could just play a game at right guard. Now, if you're like a right guard and you're not, maybe you go to a rookie mini camp. Maybe you don't. Maybe your career ends as a 3-year starter at LSU at right guard. You could go to the NFL and play a game. Now, you might be terrible, right? I think in basketball, there is a pretty big difference between, because we see it all the time, like in the tournament, smaller schools beat bigger schools. I actually think there's a smaller gap between just the dude playing point guard at Alabama that won't be an NBA player but could play a game with NBA players and kind of fit in for a game. Now, could he make a career of it? Obviously not. I think the gap in golf is pretty wide. I think as someone that watch, and I've played with a lot of college golfers, there's a pretty big difference between being like on the golf team at UCLA and playing on the PGA Tour. Right? I think it's easy. It's by far the easiest if you are a Division I, especially a Power 4 player, to make it to OTAs or even make it to like a week of training camp. Doesn't mean you're going to play in the NFL. It doesn't mean you'll ever sniff a practice squad. I think it's easier to do that than it is just I played at UCLA and I played in a couple tour events. That is way more difficult to do. To make an NBA roster, unless your dad's LeBron, is very hard. So I would say football, the gap's probably the smallest. Golf or basketball, I'd lean is the widest. Great question. In baseball, I would say baseball is a little like golf. It's just so hard to get there. I saw a headline like, could Kyler Murray go play baseball? You think Kyler Murray, who's been making, what does he make, 40, $45 million a year, who was the number one overall draft pick, who signed a $35 million contract, is going to get on a fucking bus? Even if they're like, hey, we'll let you go to double A. You think he's going to go to double A? I think I have a better chance of teeing it up at the Masters or coaching the New York football Giants than Kyler Murray does playing minor league baseball games on buses for 6 months a year. Because you don't just go to the bigs. Hell, you're not even close to the bigs if he when's the last time you think he played baseball? So I just laughed. I'm like, these are like unnamed NFL executives saying this. You think he's going to go to the minor leagues? I think he'd be more likely to just retire and just go chill than play minor league baseball after experience what he's experienced. I'd fall out of my chair. I'd be that stunned. I'd be shell shocked. Why does the NFL allow super slow motion to review catches and fumbles, but refuse it for false starts and tush push plays? I keep hearing real time. It's too hard to officiate. Well, it has something to do with like dead ball fouls, right? I can't review. There was a play, I think it was in the Niner Rams game. It was like 4th and 2, and Kittle came in motion. And before they can snap the ball, he has to become set. Well, they threw the flag saying he wasn't set. He ended up getting a completion. It was a first down, but they said it was, he wasn't set, so the play didn't count, and they got a 5-yard penalty. Even though they replayed it, Tom Brady was like, he's definitely set. They screwed up, but you can't challenge that, right? Just like I can't challenge if they don't call it on the field, my guard or tackle jumping early, but I can challenge once the ball is snapped, I can challenge a lot of those plays. Now, I don't think you can challenge like pass interference anymore, but you can't challenge like defensive holding. But I don't know. You'd have to ask like Andy Reid and the guys on the competition committee how they pick and choose that. Belichick's whole thing always was, you should be able to challenge any given play. I have 2 challenges, and if I get it right, I get it back or whatever. And if I get it wrong, I lose a timeout or whatever the rule is. We know. Do I know the rules? You get 2 challenges. If you get a challenge wrong, you lose a challenge and you lose a timeout. Pretty sure that's right. But his whole thing was you should be able to challenge any play. I should be challenged if you're offsides, if they're whatever. But they're just unchallengeable plays. And I don't know. They tried the pass interference thing. It clearly didn't work. Love the show. I would like your thoughts on firing real life people versus firing of NFL players and head coaches. Thanks. Well, I think a major difference why, for example, I literally talk about this stuff for a living. When you get fired at a regular person job, typically you're an at-will employee, and most human beings don't have contracts, right? So when you have a contract, as Brian Daboll does, I don't even know the details of his contract, but let's just make them up. Let's say he still had next year on his contract as well. They would owe him, let's just pick a number, $7.5 million for next year in 2026. So does anyone going to feel, even Mike Kafka, who will probably get fired at the end of the year? I hope he doesn't, but is probably making $2 million. So when NFL players, like if you're a guy, whoever, it's one thing if you're like an undrafted free agent, you get fired. You didn't make any money. So you have a lot in common with the regular person. But like when an older veteran guy gets fired, one, they owe him any of the guaranteed money that they haven't paid him, and two, like he has money. So like part of the reason we all work is to provide for our families, right? The reason I'm doing this podcast is to generate money to pay the bills here, right? Obviously, I enjoy doing this, but if it didn't pay, I couldn't. I'd have to find something else to do. Like the mortgage is due every month, right? My air conditioning bill is really high because I like it cold, but I mean that's doesn't pay itself. So a huge part why we feel sympathy for a normal human being who gets fired from his job, I have as well. When I did not get my contract renewed in Philadelphia, I didn't have any money coming in. My contract ended. They're like, "Hey, we're not renewing it." It was like it's just over. Like a lot of people, you just end. Now you can get unemployment or whatever, but most the average income in America is what, like 60 grand? Now it depends where you live. Like in California, it's higher, and North Dakota, it's lower. But like I feel like Brian Kelly just they owe him $53 million. James Franklin, but it's not even just him. Like the position coaches now in the NFL make $500 to $900,000. They're the top like 1.5 percenters in America, so they just have more. Now listen, their life's hard and they're public figures and people talk shit about them, coaches, and players. But as Don Draper said, that's what the money's for. you know, I think the dude that gets fired with no money and no contract would gladly have some people talking shit about him for $10 million. I know that. Uh, so I would say the big difference is just the money. Now, obviously, like if you're a CEO of a company, you actually have more in common with players and coaches. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, underage sale prohibited. If you're as competitive as I am, you're always looking for something to help you stay dialed in. And for me, that thing is Zone nicotine pouches. You won't catch me without it. Listen, I got the mint. I've been looking for the dragon fruit. My Chevron's out of it, but mint's. I think I'm playing golf tomorrow afternoon. I'll go through a 10 of these, no problem. But here's the great part: these have 20 pouches per can, where the other guys, they only offer 15. So choose Zone and dominate the day. Use the promo code 3 and out. That's the number 3 and out 20 on nicokick.com/zone for 20% off at checkout. I'm a huge Niner fan and my buddy's a Vikings fan. With both of the teams looking like a wash, we're debating which team, the Vikings or the Niners, can get back to competing quicker. The Niners, if they win this week, they would be 7-4 with the Panthers, the Browns, and the Titans. So, like, the Niners probably get 10 wins. There's a decent chance, depending on how the Bears go. Obviously, the Niners and Bears play each other, but the Bears schedule gets really hard. That if the Niners got the 10 and the Bears only got the 9, even if the Bears beat them, the Niners would be the 7th seed. The Niners won't make the playoffs. So, regardless of how many guys they've lost with injury, which is a lot, they still could make the playoffs, even if they're one and done. Like I think that's a pretty impressive accomplishment, given that their backup quarterback, won them 5 games potentially. And we'll see if Purdy's how many games he's able to play if he comes back. Okay, a couple more. If I was a head coach with a newly drafted quarterback, I think there are 3 main things I would want to see from him in his first year. Every game, I'd want him to make at least 2 or 3 high-level NFL throws. Every game, I'd want him to learn from and correct at least one mistake made in the previous game. By the end of the season, I'd want him to just simply look better than he looked in the beginning, even if his stats don't change much. And if I knew I was guaranteed to not get fired, I wouldn't care at all about how many games we won as long as the quarterback looks like our guy. Is there anything you would add to this? Well, usually guys are playing on bad teams. You're going to be throwing 25, 30, 40 times a game. So I'm going to need more than 2 or 3 throws. I would need like specific examples of we'd need improvement in the red zone throughout the season. We would need improvement on third down throughout the season. Situations of understanding, like I'm getting nitty gritty football here, but how to handle different pressures, uh, the understanding of the offense in relation to pressures and coverages, and knowing where to go when I need to go there. Obviously, a rapport with my skill guys. Uh, I think there's a naturally like the learn from one mistake. I mean, that's just football 101. You play a game, the coaches go over the film, and then they correct it with you. It's like Kyle Shanahan's big thing is most coaches, like in a locker room, when you win a game, they're like, "See you Wednesday." They work every Monday because he believes that by Wednesday you've already forgotten a lot of the game. So when you go over the corrections with the coach, like you have like a 2.5 day gap where he automatically, I don't know exactly what time it is, maybe it's like noon, but they just do film correction, even if they're not going to practice. And I mean, that's you start doing that stuff in high school. So to me, the correction stuff is natural, but I think it's more you would like to see if there's a certain defense or pressure that he struggles with. The more and more he sees that, the more and more he adapts to it. Obviously, you would naturally probably it's the NFL, so you're going to be in some close games. How he handles 2 minute, 4 minute situations, how he handles can he get us, in a game winning field goal situation. Um, can he run out the clock if we have a 10-point lead with 6 minutes left? Can he lead a drive that helps get 5, 6 minutes off the clock? Obviously, some of that's on the running back, but and then there's the stuff that's hard to quantify, like what's he like, his practice habits, what times he get into the facility, how's he, his film study ability of the opponents, working with the backup quarterback, working with the quarterback coach, uh, approaching recovery, right? Football, the season's a lot longer in the pros. Like even Ohio State or Notre Dame, if they play 15 games, like you're automatically playing 17, right? So you're just playing more games. And even in the college situation, you play the 12, like if you're Notre Dame, you play 12 games, and then let's say you make it to the national championship. Well, you got a 2 week break before the first playoff game. Then you got a 10-day break. Like you get one bye. And then you're playing Thursday games. It's the NFL season's a marathon. So how you handle that, improve on, the way you go about it to make it easier on yourself. Obviously, it's a learning experience. But I think there are a lot of intangible stuff that a guy can improve on with just experience. I mean, I'm a huge believer in the more you do something, the naturally better you get at it. A lot of people were hitting me up. I got asked the question, would I rather have one guy, one I get two running backs. One running back guarantees me 100 yards every single game, no more, no less. Or one running back that guarantees me 2 yard a carry, no more, no less. And a lot of people said, well, you can use that running back in 2 point situations. Basically, every 2 pointer you would get, in every short yardage situation you would get as well. It's like, yeah, maybe I didn't think of that. I do believe if I'm an offensive coach, especially if we have a good offense, I should be pretty good in short yardage. I might not have the tush push, but the 100 yard back, I think it's really valuable if you're a good team because I can run up the clock in the third and fourth quarter. So I hear a lot of people pushing back on that, but maybe I'm a sucker for a 100 yard rusher. And if you play 17 games, you're going to have 1,700 yards a year. Curious to know how if the NFL can step in between YouTube and Disney. Since the NFL owns the rights to their games, would it be possible for the league to feed Monday Night Football games through NFL Plus stream for free while Google and Disney duke it out? Seems fair to the consumer, and I'm sure the NFL wouldn't want to lose ratings. I saw their ratings, college football and the NFL, are just naturally down a little bit for Monday Night Football and college game day, which makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of us that just don't have access to it. Uh, I would imagine this is one of those situations where they will get louder the longer this goes, and they will need a solution because you have to remember too, who's the NFL in business with for the direct package, all the games, YouTube TV. They have the NFL package, so the NFL is in business with both these two people. Now, at the end of the day, like this is probably the last thing they want to be like. They just want all their games on TV for everyone to consume. But this is, I would imagine they've probably already made some just quiet preliminary kind of overtures like, hey guys, what's going on? You give it like a month of no Monday Night Football for YouTube TV consumers, people are going to get antsy. And I'm talking Raj, I'm talking the owners. Like this is their bread and butter. This is where they make their money. What if I told you that ESPN and YouTube were colluding against them, trying to screw them? You never know. You can convince me. I saw some funny conspiracies about Nico Harrison in the NBA and Luca. I mean, I've always had some too. I've never known exactly how to connect it all. I just always thought something was shady. It's crazy, You make a big trade in the NFL or just sports in general. Like it can go wrong, right? The Micah Parsons thing, there's risk involved in that for the Packers. You're giving them a ton of money. You're giving up 2 first-round picks, Sauce Gardner, like all these trades. There is no guarantee. Even when the Eagles traded for A.J. Brown, it's like he better be an elite player. We're giving him a ton of money. And a lot of times when you're trading for a great player, you feel pretty good about it. I don't think the Luka trade in the middle of the night with Nico Harrison is just it's just one of those. The most NBA story of all time was Shams reporting that Nico was going to be fired in 2 more hours. Like he's scheduled to meet in 2 hours. That's where like conspiracy me, who just follows sports for a long time, goes, did Nico leak to Shams that like I got a meeting, I know they're gonna fire me? Because that's what I'd probably put my money on. But pains me. I hate the Lakers, but Skinny Luca, I think he's averaging like 75 points a game and just dominating the league. It's just one of those that I think it's the worst one of all time. I really do. Like we have some of those going on right now in the NFL. It's like Daniel Jones is playing great for the Colts. I think all Giants fans go, listen, he never was going to do that for us. Or like Christian McCaffrey gets traded from the Panthers. And then a year later, he has like one of the great seasons of all time. It's like, well, that wasn't going to happen here. But if you're like a Mavs fan, you're like, Luca was doing that here. He was all NBA every single year. He took us to the finals. What the bleep is going on? And Eagles like, sweet, I'm out. Have fun. Here's Anthony Davis. I that one, man, all timer. Have a great day.